Alright, welcome back to All Cars Y'all. I am John. It is time for another Motorweek Retro review reaction. This week it is the 1982 Volkswagen Scirocco. A car that I really want to like, but I'm not sure I do. So as always, please grab your beverage of choice, sit back in that comfy chair, and let's see what Motorweek had to say about it when it's brand new.
Motorweek is made possible by Lucas Oil, Auto Value and Bumper to Bumper, and TireRack.com.
For years, the name Volkswagen has meant only one thing: economy. But there are now many faces of Volkswagen, and for our second road test this week, we'll take the advantage and look at the sporting side of VW. This week we test the newly redesigned Scirocco. Advertisements call it the Super VW, and they promise an awful lot of driving fun for its $10,150 base price. Still made only in Germany, this is one subcompact meant for more than just hauling groceries. Does it live up to its billing? Now's your chance to find out. The Volkswagen Scirocco has been around since 1974. The 1982 version is its first redesign and retains most of the old mechanical features closely shared with the boxy Rabbit. New,
styling-wise, I think it's awkward. I really do. I think the front overhang is oddly large. The bumper is, to meet our crash safety standards, oddly large. But it's mostly the passenger compartment here. One thing that I think will come up multiple times in this video is, why would you choose this over a Golf GTI? It's a little bit longer, but honestly, it looks like an X-body. Looks like a Citation to me. I don't love it. I don't.
New refers mostly to a sleek body and handsome interior, both developed by Ital Design, one of the leading Italian styling firms. There's only one drivetrain, the Rabbit's fuel-injected 1.7-liter four-cylinder, and a 5-speed manual that sports an overdrive fourth and super economy fifth gear. The Scirocco has always been good-looking, and the new body carries on the tradition. The long hood, a sharply raked windshield, and gently curved sides make for a most attractive car.
And hold on, I won't say it's unattractive. I actually think that the X-bodies, the Citation and others, were pretty attractive. I think the VW here, although I think it shares the same general design aesthetic, is a little more dainty. And I like that a lot. But still, the Scirocco should be sporty, where here it just looks like two-door small sedan more than anything else. I just don't love it.
This VW is the first volume car to use this unique rear hatch styling. That little bit of lower glass does wonders for rear visibility. However, a few felt the spoiler looked tacked on and found the large Scirocco a bit gauche. You sit low in the Scirocco, and the seats are typically German. That means hard with lots of support in all directions. Although front headroom was at a premium, most of our drivers managed to get comfortable.
That's right. Punch the seat. Punch it. That tells you how comfortable it is. If you punch the seat.
The dash and the rest of the interior are less Spartan than in a normal VW and show their stylish Italian heritage. Most instruments were clear and simple, although finding the water temperature and fuel gauge took a few seconds. Volkswagen has included its new upshift light that tells you when it's time to shift for best fuel economy. This is frankly a gimmick that distracted us from fully enjoying the car. But enjoy the car I did. This little pocket racer has spunk, and the steering is reasonably quick and very precise.
Let's talk about the interior there. Maybe they'll show more here in a minute, right? But it was okay. I mean, for 1982, it was fine. There's nothing wrong with what VW is doing other than their pricing and their potential reliability. This car is okay, but there was Japanese cars with better reliability and maybe more refinement that just were better than this. I don't know. It's kind of cool. Ultimately, it's not a Corrado, and I like the idea of the Scirocco. I like the idea of a VW sporting car, but this just doesn't feel, especially with the hatchback, doesn't feel special.
The suspension is a bit harsh but well controlled. The body leans little and the brakes felt secure. This was the closest thing to a sports car with 4 seats that I've ever driven. It was a very popular car too around our office, and the staff couldn't wait for their turn to drive. Acceleration was not as quick as I expected. From 40 to 55 miles per hour, it took 5.5 seconds. The sporty sounding engine made it seem quicker, a good showing nonetheless. Time for the quarter mile was also a bit longer than expected at 18.8 seconds and a speed of 74 miles per hour. Again, it seemed shorter and faster. The Scirocco makes tight circles, 31 feet curb to curb. Although the rack and pinion steering is not power assisted, it was quite light, which should mean that parking will be easy. Putting the Scirocco through our emergency lane...
Let's stop there for a minute. So that brings up a couple of things. The first is that cars are defined by their feeling. And it's something I think that the American manufacturers have really struggled with. They hit the check boxes without actually creating a car that's desirable. VW is the opposite. They create desirable cars that maybe have fatal flaws. And I'm not personally concerned about the last tenth of a second of 0 to 60. I'm concerned about the livability of it. And does it feel special? Does it feel sporty when I drive it? One of the biggest things I can think of is the Geo Tracker, right? This is a foreign rebadged Geo sport utility without a lot of horsepower, but it was super, super fun to drive. And that's kind of what I'm hearing here. You've got something that doesn't have overwhelming abilities, but it's fun and people want to drive it. And that's what you want out of a car. I honestly would rather have an 85 horsepower car that's fun to drive than a 300 horsepower monster that's a beast. The other thing I want to say is they didn't give power steering here. Now it is 82, but fast forward a few years and I had a Volkswagen Fox, which did not have power steering. And one of the great downsides of it was it didn't have power steering and didn't have an automatic. VW seemed to miss the forest for the trees here in terms of what people actually wanted.
Changing course was fun. The handling was in general very good. High exit speeds were more than possible. Only towards the end of the course did you notice a rising amount of understeer. That's the tendency of the front of the car to plow into a turn. When that happened, you also heard the rear tires begin to chirp as their 2 skinny carcasses tried to leave the road. We must also give good marks to the brakes. An average of 40 feet was needed to stop this 2,000-pound Scirocco from 30 miles per hour, a good straight stop. Our praise grew stronger when we managed our 55-0 test. Braking distances averaged 115 feet, very, very short. In addition, there was minimal fade and no tendency to pull to one side. Nothing.
Nice results. I think some of their later testing was from 60, and I'm curious what that would have been. 115 is really good, though. And what's impressive here is they mention the skinny tires earlier, and then they have this braking result. with absolutely no drama. And I've done a number of these which have Japanese, like Nissans and things like that. And there's wheel lockup and there's something special. This is just solid. A really, really good result, actually.
But straight, solid, secure braking. The Scirocco has some of the best brakes we've ever seen on a production car. Raising the heavy hood is a two-handed procedure. Once done, the front-wheel drive engine looks almost small in its wide bay. Spark plugs and dipsticks are front-facing, and the oil filter is easily serviced. A very neat pocket. VW claims to have solved the oil consumption problems that have plagued these rabbit engines, and our car was too new to have any complaints. The Scirocco is a 2+2 coupe, meaning that 2 adults will find comfort in the front and 2 children might get along in the rear. There is very little head or leg room in the back seat. But if there's only 2 of you, the rear seat folds almost flat to provide a station wagon-like cargo compartment. Space is well utilized in this small car.
Well, and from that perspective, right, when I look at my life right now and wanting something that maybe has a little bit of sport to it, I don't need 4 seats. I don't need necessarily 4 doors, but I would keep that rear seat constantly laid down just for the cargo space of throwing stuff in there. And so when you think about, like, hey, it's Friday night, let's pack our bags, throw it in the back, and drive to the mountains. Perfect car. Almost perfect car.
On the open highway, that engine noise we found so enjoyable before became a little annoying. However, the Scirocco is well insulated for a small car and reasonably quiet. Visibility was also rated okay, though using the outside mirrors for lane changing is a necessity. Since this is a Volkswagen, it's not surprising to find the EPA fuel economy is 28 city and 41 highway. Our test car turned in a consistent range of 30 to 36 miles per gallon.
Well, that's interesting. So the gas mileage, city and highway, is fantastic. But saying that it gives a consistent 30 to 36, that's a 20% margin. That's incredible that they're actually selling that as a bonus, as a upsell, right? Yeah, let's continue.
1982 Volkswagen Scirocco does live up to its billing. It's fun, even super to drive. In these days of ballooning prices on all cars, particularly sports cars, it's a very reasonable alternative. At the same time, remember it's a VW. To most people, that usually means both fuel economy and supermarket practicality.
Interesting. And they're saying supermarket practicality. VW at the time had a reputation for not great reliability, and they mentioned the oil usage of the Rabbit engine and slightly overpriced. The argument being you're getting what you pay for, right? You're getting German engineering, but the Japanese manufacturers in '82 were really coming on strong and showing what you could get in terms of price and performance. And that makes this a really hard sell. I'm not saying it's overpriced. It's hard to look back from 2023 when we're recording this at 1982 and say, ooh, $10,000. That's so much money. But relative to the other stuff, it's expensive. I wish they'd done a comparison there at the end. Power's okay. Acceleration's okay. Braking's great. Handling's fine. I'm a little surprised a German car, they had complaints about the engine noise at speed. There's a lot I like here. And I've always liked the idea of the Scirocco. I've always liked the idea, but it's always been filled by the GTI, honestly. I do like the idea of this. A little bit longer, a little bit more flexible in your day-to-day life. But I don't know that if you transported me back to 1982, that I would be in love with this car. It's pretty good looking. It's awkwardly proportioned. It's not super powerful. It's okay. It's hopefully reliable. They think they fixed it. It's got plenty of flexibility, but only 2 doors. It's just okay. It's not a sports car. That's the thing here. It's not a Celica, right? It's not a Mustang. It's a 2-door hatchback that happens to have some pretty good road manners. I kind of think I'd like it if we were, again, transported back to 1982. I kind of think I'd like it. I kind of think that this would speak to me. And certainly when I think about throwing stuff in the back and driving to the mountains for the weekend, it offers everything you need. But on a day-to-day basis, having a back seat but not 4 doors, having a hatchback but not being as efficiently used as a Golf, and the questions and the price around Volkswagen, I don't see myself buying it. I really don't. I love it in history. I love it looking back. But if I lived in 1982, I have trouble figuring out why I would buy this over some of the other options that would be out there. If you had a Scirocco, let me know below. I love the idea of a Scirocco, and I wish it was more popular here. I wish we still had something like it. But in 1982, based on this, yeah, I think there's a bunch of other things I'd rather buy. Thanks for being here.